Hi class. The fourth factor that controls temperature that we're going to take a look at is elevation or altitude. Okay, and so you probably, if you've ever driven up a mountainside, if you've ever been in an airplane or a hot air balloon, um, you've experienced that temperatures get colder the higher up into the atmosphere you get. And that's all due to something called the environmental lapse rate. And the environmental lapse rate simply refers to the change in temperature as you go up into the atmosphere or come back down from the atmosphere back to the ground. Okay, and the environmental lapse rate is approximately 10 degrees Celsius for every 1,000 meters of elevation change or altitude change that you have. If you wonder what that is in English units, if you can relate better, it is 5.5 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1,000 feet that the altitude changes. Okay, now why does that change? It's kind of a chain reaction. So when you have a change in altitude, so if the altitude increases, okay, that is going to lead to the air expanding. And as air expands, its temperature is going to decrease. Okay, so this is a chain reaction that takes place in the atmosphere. Whenever air rises, whenever you go up into the atmosphere, that air is going to expand, and that expanding air is going to cause the temperature to decrease. In this section of the notes in the PowerPoint, there's a slide here giving an example of two locations in Ecuador. Guayaquil is right along the coast, basically at sea level, and Quito is up in the Andes Mountains. Okay, and so there's an elevation difference or an altitude difference taking place here, and the effect that it has on temperature at these two locations is pretty drastic. And so on the left-hand side, we've got temperature in Celsius, right-hand side temperature in Fahrenheit. Generally speaking, because of the elevation differences between Guayaquil and Quito, Guayaquil, again, which is on the coast at sea level, is about 20 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, about 15 degrees or so. Is it 15? Let's see, we're at about 14 or 15 up to, so it's about a 10 or 12 degree Celsius change in temperature due strictly to differences in elevation or altitude, if you want to look at it that way. So again, as you go up into the atmosphere, the air expands, the temperature decreases. This is definitely shown in temperatures recorded at these two locations, one at sea level along the coast and one at a much higher altitude or elevation because it's found in the mountains. Okay. All right, so that's the fourth factor that controls temperature.